episode 9 of Overrated. We're going to roast some players today, right? Is that what we're going to do? No, we're going to talk about, you know, the recent performances, especially in terms of Apex, and then also, I guess, a little bit as far as we're, you know, able to talk about the Western scene. But in general, our stats and our, you know, expertise currently probably lends itself more to, you know, the Korean scene, but also because, like, streaming for contenders is a little bit of an issue right now, right?
Yeah, too much of an issue, to be honest. Like, we have 4 games out of the 24 games played in its weekend. So it's like, we could have all these great stats because right now they're playing the 4 game sets in the group sets. So they're playing especially 1 map per game mode. Even if they lose the game, because it's like, if it's 3-1, it's a loss for some teams and a win for the others. And if it's 2-2, it's a draw. Technically, that's how it counts. Basically, so as to, you know, you have like this kind of head-to-head tiebreakers. You have like point tiebreakers, match tiebreakers. So therefore, you don't need to replay or to play another best of 3 Oasis or best of 1 Oasis or anything like that to decide the winner. But yeah, we're missing so much stats right now, so as to see who is overperforming, who is underperforming, and especially after the TakeOver2 tournament, where we saw the best teams in the West, the ones we consider the best at least. NIP right now, or RIP, as who was it? Harsha. Yeah, Harsha is telling me now, rest in pajamas. Is probably one of the top teams that's dropped out of favor, but
Let's be honest, man. Like, Zappis shaving his beard is a bigger tragedy than Nip dropping, because my understanding is that they're probably going to play together still in contenders, right? All we're losing is really the nickname for now, right?
Yeah. Well, it was a bit of a shock. I saw the tweet and it was like new beard day 0, and
Dude.
I thought it was like some kind of save. I mean, like, and he went all ham. Like,
it's unreal. Like, I saw that guy at TakeOver, right? He had this sage aura. Like, like, just imagine this thing. Like, the very tip of his hair had been probably with him for, I would say, at least 5 years or something, right? So now it's gone, man.
Yeah. I mean, because he's selling points since the Overwatch Open, where they made him the Viking. You remember that?
Yes.
Because E-League has a great taste for memes, like back in the day, and I haven't seen it in the other tournaments where, you know, you take like players and you put them in a different context or classes or whatever. So, I mean, especially in Apex, since we're going to talk about players and their performances there, you could have so many players with memes right now, like Janus, the monkey that's hanging from the ceiling. Like, you could do all those things, and
yeah,
but I guess it's not in their culture at all.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so one thing that piqued our interest, and we just love that little bit of spice, right? So Winz recently had an interview, and he really, you know, he didn't pull his punches. Like, he really went ham. And obviously the thing, other than, you know, elaborating while the old rogue fell apart, the thing that really caught our eye was that he said stats are meaningless. And what he's saying is that he gives it the... So for the most part, I think the argument in which way he presents it is sound, because the instances he describes, so sometimes people are used as bait, for instance. Yes, that is not covered by stats. But, like, how would you describe that? What's the issue with this?
Okay, not sure if you noticed it, but I was stretching because I'm ready to roast the boy.
Let's go.
Seriously, like, I'm not even going to hold my pants. So, stats are never meaningless. That's like saying maths are meaningless. No, stats, maths, all these numbers are not meaningless, but you have to put context into them. It's not like stats are going to tell you how great a player is or how bad a player is by themselves, because players have so different styles. Like for example, one is very aggressive, while the other is very defensive. The one is passive, like the one is reactive. So it's like how harsh the competition is right now. As we're going to see, the Africa Freaks blue team has probably the best stats in Apex so far. I miss them because they have won all the matches and in such a dominant fashion that. But their competition isn't like Rock's competition in the Group of Death or Count to Bateras or Front the Kite. So it's like, if you just see the numbers, you think like, wow, this team is great. We're gonna do great. But if you check like the context in which the numbers are generated, it's very different. And again, it's like, what's the meta right now? Because it's a team-based game, and therefore some players. I mean, I did this back in after the Apex Season 2 finals, where I said like, live by the badge or die by the badge, which is like an article I did about how the patch enhanced Miro's performance on Winston, because it allowed him to play the character, the hero that he liked the most, and therefore the whole team was performing a lot better than they used to when he was on Reinhardt, and therefore he was like on the back foot constantly, like he wasn't really comfortable on Reinhardt. And it's really interesting to see if Miro can play anything else at the highest level, like go toe to toe on any other hero apart from Reinhardt and Winston. Maybe if the meta shifts to Orisa, for example, can Miro play Orisa? I mean, all this, you have to evaluate all these contexts. So stats are never meaningless. They will never be meaningless. They're just indicators. That's what I always say. Like, if you want to go through, I mean, Lurpis was saying this the other day, which is really mind-blowing. Like, we start this show from saying that essentially like the picture that is being painted right now in Overwatch is like really distorted in many sense because of the way the tournaments have been played out, or because of different factors. And from the CSGO scene, you have people reaching the same conclusion or reaching the same point of view after like 7 years of professional gameplay. Like, we're just in the beginning, and we're already addressing these issues so as to go forwards into a more competitive scene that's fair, that's objective as to how you evaluate players' performance. And these things just come into the game, like in the CSGO scene, which is like one of the biggest esports. It's mind-blowing. So Lurpis was saying like, you can't really go through 300 out of votes from each perspective so as to evaluate how a player plays. Okay, obviously. And even Winz, for example, when he's in game, his opinion of how an opponent Lucio is playing is based on what he expects or what he values as great play. But in the team's context of the opponent Lucio, he may be just the right guy. Just he's doing what it's really needed for the team, and therefore, I mean, you don't really need to see Dobby on every team, or you don't need to see Winz or Harry or whoever Lucio. I mean, every team has a different style, and therefore you have to evaluate the style. And since you can't go through all these hours of odds, no player can, no team manager, team member, no analyst, no one will ever. So you need to have indicators as to where you should search when you want to to see who is the best diva, so that I can watch him and gain information or tricks, get the knowledge out of him. So stats are, for me, are indicators, and therefore when discussing stats, is discussing like indicators that we have to combine with the eye test, with things that we have seen in game from their perspective, and also with the narratives around the scene. For example, like Daimu, the burnout gate. So you see him popping off in the Meta Athena matchup. It's like Daimu is popping off. Daimu is unhappy. Daimu is sad. The same face, like the same expression, the same face and expression. It's like Daimu won the game, and you have to take into account that this guy, for him, as he stated afterwards in his Twitter, it's like he's underperforming. He's not thinking that he's performing greatly, and everyone on the Twitch chat or everyone in the Twitter and everything, it's like, oh my god, Daimu! Like, Monte.
Yeah. I mean, that one play that stands out and that basically won them the map was that Numbani play, right? Where he flashbangs the Tracer, headshots I think it was the Genji in the back, and then goes back to the Tracer and headshots her and gets another one. Like just a triple kill opens up the entire. Yeah, it's unreal. Like how do you do that play and then just sit back and just like, yeah, I'm pretty shit at this game, you know. Like, okay, maybe consistently over the series. Maybe that's a different story, and I wouldn't even say he underperformed. Maybe his like what he demands of himself is different, but he in many cases saved them the series, right? Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah, and this can't be quantified. Like for example, if you're going to talk about stats, okay, you're going to see that he killed a Tracer and a Genji in succession, but it doesn't really present by no means. For example, I mean, even if you break it down like to the absolute numbers, like he headshot the Tracer and he one-shot the Genji like in a matter of seconds, it still will never represent, you know, the situation, like how clutch it was. Like I mean, the time ticking down. This was like a last-minute swap for him because he wasn't playing. He was playing McCree from the start. So it's like you have to find all to complete the picture. You have to combine all these factors, and stats will never do that for you. It's where the humans come into play, so as to, you know, you have an analyst, but it doesn't just stare at stats. And it's like, oh my god, Taimu is it's a beast because his first death ratio is like 100% more than the average first death ratio. No, it doesn't work like that. So
yeah,
when you watching a show, especially like ours, you're getting this knowledge out of it, like how
hopefully,
yeah, I guess. Like, I mean, that's what we try to do here. So
yeah, I mean, to be fair to Wince, right? His point was, and actually also, let me bring this up again. He raised the point that, for a concrete example, recently some websites tracking stats released the kills per ultimate, blah blah blah. Tig was one of the most kills per ult, but his argument is that it's because they play more Zarya and they have more Graviton, and therefore he gets more ults. Now, that's that's a fair point, right? Like, if that was the case, then that would something that needs to be considered, right? So he specifically says that because they never play Zarya, Soon doesn't have that bonus. Now, I don't know if that's actually true, how much Rogue played, Misfits played Zarya, but one thing I can say is that also the datasets were flawed in many ways, right? So if we're looking actually at this, and it was on Twitter, it was by GG Data Space, and they do Overwatch data analysis, and basically it was this graph, and it highlights Tivik, Shorefor, Birdring, Soon, and whatever, right? All the way down. I mean, you know, the boy Esker for good measure, right? But like there were some issues with that graph, weren't there?
A lot of issues, to be honest. It's like first of all, it takes into account the whole year, basically all of 2017, which is like, how do you take into account all the different metas, or how do you take account the vast matches played by Rogue, the vast number of matches played by Rogue, compared to Esker's 15 matches or 16 or whatever. It's like the samples are vastly different, and even if you boil it down to average per minute, which is the best indicators, and this is what Wince Lab does, it's like, how do you evaluate the team's play style or the competition or all these things? You can't really. Okay, so you're going to compare, let's say you're going to compare the best tracers in the kills per ultimate, right? You have to put into context into the graph. Like for example, ours, at each player has played on the set hero. Eska has played less hours than Sun. But I think Sun has played the most out of all of them.
Could be, yeah.
That's a match duration. Like he has played, I think right now, like 50 matches so far, and all the rest have played like what, 5, 9, 10, 16, like 20 matches. It's I mean, Tvik has played in Overwatch Beat EU, TakeOver2, and now he's playing in Overwatch Contenders. But that's all his career in 2017, I think.
Yeah, so just in direct comparison, obviously, like, Rogue has Apex up on Tivik. They played the same tournaments, but Rogue also played Apex, right?
Yeah.
So
Tvik also played in IM Gyeonggi.
Could you explain, because these are obviously average stats, so like someone might maybe say, yeah, but this is not numerical. Why does it matter that he played more? But you have an argument there, right? Why? Like, it's not like they just keep stacking, and that's why, like, they played 2 hours more. That's why he has more ult kills.
The thing like that, it's if you're going to do average per minutes, okay, so it's the best indicator because in the best stats right now compared to average per matches or average per tournaments or whatever, because you don't ignore the factor of time. So if a team finished the match earlier, then it means that they get less chances to for example, have an ultimate up like Tracer Pulse Bomb. So if, let's say, a team full holds the other on first point in Numbani, they just get 4 minutes, and Tracer can probably get like 3 ultimates top in this 4-minute window. Basically, since he gets full hold, one of the Tracers, if both teams have a Tracer, one of the Tracer gets 3 ultimates, the other gets like 2.5. It probably doesn't get. But the problem with this kind of data, if you have a vastly different sample size, it's like, what happens if one team dominates all their matches and therefore racks constantly big averages per match, per minute, basically? So let's say Rogue has played so many matches, but most of them were domination mode, easily. Like, we're dominating the other teams. So our averages are like constantly at the top, at the highest peak that they can be. What happens then when someone has to play like the toughest oppositions, that is his toughest opposition, and therefore his average are like medium to high because of that? If you compare the sample size, even if you boil it down to average per minute, one, because of the number of easy matches they had, like to rack this average up, he would have a far better average.
Yes.
Which again, that ignores also the style, the comp style that the whole team plays, like this area factors and all these things. But yeah, that's my argument. So you for me, I tend to do my analysis based on, tournament time frame, like compare the players within the same tournament somehow, so as to have like the same amount of matches or the same, opposition, or also compare. If you're going to do a proper comparison, you need to also take into account if the team has lost a match against the other, because that way always the winning team will have better averages than the losing team. So once you take all these factors into account, then you can go on and make comparisons like that. But otherwise, when you're also comparing different regions, it's like things become sketchy. It becomes really weird for me.
Yes. And also, like, obviously, one of the criminal things for me is, so the problem is also how people use these stats. They want to have sort of like a ranking that they can therefore assign, when in reality they should look at these stats and say, that's actually quite interesting that Tivik gets these many. Why is that, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a dick measuring contest, right? And if it was, if you want to actually say these are the best, Tracer ult users, why would you not include the best one? Logics, right? So I think someone pointed it out. Let me find the comments.
I think it was Tivik.
Was it Tivik? Oh, it's actually somewhere in the sub comments.
No, it goes further below, basically.
Was it?
Yeah,
anyway,
it was before.
Basically, like, he's sitting at 0.5 something, 0.508 or something. I think I remember. So why would you not include him then, right? This is the problem, that you then spin a different narrative unless you have something to say, which you don't on a Twitter account, right? So these are dangerous because they weave a different narrative. Then you're misrepresenting players' careers, and in general, I have to say, like, for instance, a Logic's had to be on. If you have Tivik on, who basically also probably played about the same tournaments, if you have, in general, he should probably only do like European ones, right? And then people that played in Korea, and then for a certain time frame, for a certain patch, right? But like, just to selectively, then other pro players come out, and like Michael from Kongana comes out, and it's like, you know what about me? And he's like, oh yeah, you're there too. And another guy says, what about Sinatra? Why is he not on the list? Oh yeah, you know, Sinatra would actually be on that list. It's like, come on, man. Like, this is not representative data. And then I totally get Win's point, because this is basically, like, I have no idea what he's actually saying with this, right? And he did apologize, and it's like, I don't want to rag on the guy, but this is just, you know, as an idea, this I find absolutely dangerous and misuse of stats, and that's how it gets a bad reputation, right?
For me, whenever you do this kind of stats infographics, you need to have an article.
Yes.
Why you did it? What are the premises? What is the thought process behind it? What did you want to show to the people? Like, in a team-based game, you can never take the performance of one player out of context and measure it compared to other players that pick that same hero. I mean, just by putting the amount of time a player played that specific hero, we tell us, for example, that Sun has played 50 hours on Tracer, whereas like Eska has played 20 hours on Tracer. And again, it's like, what's a better stat would be like, what's the pick rate of the hero compared to the hero's pick rate of the player for all tournaments, or for all the time frame that the stats are calculated upon. So for Sun, it's 100% almost. It's like he never left that hero. I basically in TakeOver2, I think he went for some Sombra play. Maybe even in against Lotica, I don't remember this correctly. So, and then you go on and see Eska, for example. You will see that he has played Soldier a lot. He has flexed to other heroes. Logic, maybe he has almost a really high pick rate. So when you put this kind of small info below, the chart, then everyone seeing this can evaluate it differently. When you omit this kind of info, then, like you said, you're affecting how people evaluate players. And if we're talking about criminals, basically the casters are the worst criminals in this scenario, because they have the I give them the benefit of the doubt, and because of their role, like, they have to cast things so fast, and it's a thing like to hype things. Like, for example, the Escalul moment. I don't think Eska is like the worst Tracer ever happened playing in Apex seasons altogether, but because the camera is on him all the time, it's not like on Acer or on Architect, or not on Architect, on Acer or other Tracer players of lesser teams that are equally bad,
Stitch or something.
Yeah, so you get to see Eska's bad moments a lot more, so you're biased in the future against him. Like, I'm expecting him to fail. Let's see it. Like, I don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
I don't care about some player that is not on a winning team, because he also, like, the winner of Apex Season 2, and he makes this kind of mistakes. It's not like you're a player on an amateur team that just passed into the scene. So, yeah, I mean, that's why again the stats come into the game and say let's put some things into perspective. Let's see how bad is Eska actually. Yeah. And I think you have some things to say about Eska down the road, like, because others have really used him as an example in their videos. So
yeah, there's a great example. So
yeah,
like, today Sideshow announced his video, and we're just going to briefly look into this, right? So please know content don't take Areno, Sideshow. So we'll just start it here.
Okay, Eska's still playing real aggressively. Look, he's got 94%. If he carries on staying in this location and literally just spams at the tanks as they come out through this choke point, he's going to have his EMP. Overwatch at 98% as well. They're going to be able to match each other, and he's going to be able to dispel the sound barrier. Instead, Eska takes a 1v1 with Asher. I don't understand what this is. He very deliberately takes this. Maybe there's a reason that I'm too stupid to understand, but
Okay, so he says, maybe there's a reason I'm too stupid to understand, right? And here's the Lord of Ratings comes into play again. Because if we're looking at Baroy's ratings, we will see the worst two players currently in the quarterfinals for Apex are Esker and Asher battling it out for the worst player. So he's like, I don't necessarily know what Esker wanted to defend there. If he wanted to show Asher that he's better, or if he wanted to battle Asher to show that he's actually worse, right? That he wanted to be like first from below. Right.
Yeah, let's leave the table up for a moment because it's hilarious when you mentioned it. I could never think about it, to be honest. But it's like a super nice narrative. It's a super nice. It's like one moment, one like match-defining moment, map-defining basically, because they won the match. It's like it's between the two worst players of the whole tournament.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And it's not like the two worst players from all perspective. It's like the two worst players as indicated by a number of factors.
Yeah.
You can see in the tables there are like 3 pages of factors, and then there's a formula that combines all these factors and them.
And again, we have to say that this is obviously like non-contextual. We would have to look at them, interpret them. This is just a number. There's reasons why Esker could be down there while still being, an asset to his team. But, just numerically what we see on the server and what the kill feed tells us, this is what, the formula comes up with, right?
Exactly. And the thing is like, we can talk about all these things on the table because we have them arranged. So it's not like a guy that gives you the number like 829 versus 777, with 777 it's a really great number for the last player, to be honest. It's like it's like the number of the card, I think. 7 it's the number for completion, like for divinity. The divine number 777.
Yeah.
She is the worst player, 777. So
Yep.
yeah. Not 007, he's the 777. Anyways, so anyone can see these numbers and then he can say, like, for example, I don't agree with this, but I can see where it comes from. In Maury's case, you don't agree with it and you don't see where it comes from. It's like you're missing. So
what you also see if you look at Esker's stats, like whenever he gets off Tracer, he's actually quite serviceable DPS player, right? So for instance, his soldier ults, his kills per ult are pretty top notch. Obviously that's also part of the team, right? Is how good is the team then shutting down a diva or something, but he knows when to activate, right? Whenever he's not on Tracer basically is when he does decently, maybe slightly above average. But as soon as they put him on, it's a mess for me, at least. Like, I don't need these stats to see that Esker is not a good Tracer.
Yeah, and here comes when you think the stats though. It's like, why do they have this kind of player on a must-play hero in this current meta, which is Tracer? And why do they do like the best team in Apex Season 2 has this player on this kind of character? You would expect someone to have like their best player on the said character since he's like a must pick right now. The problem is that when you think about it, and that's why stats are indicators, you go and start to analyze how Lunatic High works. So with who are you in the team and not Guido, because when Guido comes into play, then Esker can play on Soldier. With who are you on the team? Who are you is almost an Genji one trick, almost, because he has shown some glimpse of Tracer play.
Yes, against Rogue, right? Yeah.
Since you have like, who are you on Genji? You have Zumba or Diva. You have Miro on Wisdom. You have like everyone on the comfortable roles. Having a soldier constantly with Genji is not optimal on many maps. You're losing utility. You're losing the backline pressure. You're losing things. So yeah, Esker may not have the best pulse bombs in the whole world. Like, yeah, maybe pulse bombing is not his thing. Maybe he needs to
No, definitely not.
some other things, like maybe he needs to stick to big. But again, like the pressure that the character, or that the hero in general, Tracer in general, brings to the backline, that's what you need out of Tracer, because you have all these other playmakers that can capitalize on that small amount of pressure that SK can bring forward. Therefore, why push him away from the team? Why get him off the team when all you need from him as a Tracer, he can provide it. At the same time, you're keeping his utility for Soldier 76, for McCree when he comes back into the meta, a Reaper maybe. So therefore, it's like this kind of mind games on coach level, and not, and you know, the average viewer is like, get him off the team. He missed 100 pulse bombs. What do I care? No, you should care, because when the meta shifts and you need the Soldier 76, are you going to get Zumba to play Soldier 76 because you got just a one-trick Tracer, and then you're having to have like another player come into the game, like constantly just swap players? No, it's not going to work then, because you're risking your team synergy in the end. It's like you're resetting the whole team synergy game that you have built in a previous season just to be able to win just one season. I mean, in the long run, when Overwatch is going to go to the Overwatch League thing, and you know it's going to be stabilized, and every tournament will have like you know a specific rotation, you will need this kind of players that bring the history with them, that bring the narratives. Even like a failed player brings narratives with them, like even a bad player. If you constantly swap players, then you're missing on so many things, or so many fronts.
Yes.
And it's not really that great. I mean, I think I would keep Eska even if he could only were to get me fangirls in the crowd. I would keep him for that reason, like to keep the whole other team motivated, just for these sign-up sessions in up front, you know, all the gifts. I would just keep him there for this reason, because sometimes this kind of, you know, of not metal shifts, like this kind of mindset, or you know, this kind of appreciation enables a team to play better. It's the home crowd arena. It's like, you know, the crowd helps you make better. Girls shouting Eska, or shouting when Eska makes a grand play, it, even if Ryuzehon does never hear his name, just hearing that the crowd is cheering for his team is important for him to play better. Like
other intangibles could obviously entail like him being a shot caller, but I guess like being, you know, the light that keeps the female moth around, you know, is also a good explanation. But I don't know. So let's.
Anyways, that's my own.
We talked a bunch about the rest right now. Like let's not be overly negative assholes, right? So what are the best? So what is really something, maybe like a newcomer or someone that really impressed you so far in Apex?
So yeah, that's something that I was wondering about when I saw the roster announcement for the Korean Overwatch World Cup team, and I was thinking like Donghyun from Africa Freaks Blue is playing a much better diva than Zumba, for example. I mean, his mech bombs are insane.
Yes.
On the other hand, Zumba has like the Soldier 76 hero in his arsenal, which maybe is deemed more valuable. But if you're going to talk about synergy between roles, you have Mano, who is like a top Winston player right now. He's like even his results up to this point, at least against the opposition he has faced, are much better than the results of Miro. And we're not talking about only the hard teams, like because Lunatic High has faced Count to Bather and Lux Watch Blue, but against like X6 Gaming, Lunatic High lost that game against, I think, was it X6 Gaming, was it, right?
No, I don't think it was. When would they have to?
No, Count to Bathera?
Yeah, they were on the other brackets, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I got that messed up.
Yeah.
I remember Africa Fix Blue Base game. Never mind. So, yeah. So then the argument holds.
Let me ask this: do you think Mano and Donghyun are currently the best tank duo in Korea?
At least from the stats, yeah. But we need to see them facing harder opposition to be sure that they're definitely the.
That's a little bit of an issue, right? So if you're looking at the stats, like it's quite obvious. Like they're currently at 100% win rate. That means they have won like every single map they've played, right? So that
Yeah.
obviously, you know, skews stats, but only if you can make the argument that they have 100% win rate because their opposition was weaker. And I think there's a good argument to be made that this was the case. They had a pretty weak group, and also like that playoff bracket could have probably not worked out better for them, right? Other than maybe getting Kongbox instead of X6, but that's about it, right?
Still, we should keep in mind that when you're facing a weak group and you're a favorite or you're like a top dog in that weak group, you should present this kind of stats if you're going to stand a chance against your tougher opposition. Because if you're struggling, even in stats against like weaker opposition, then it's a no-go. Like when you get to the tougher brackets, you will crumble. I mean, this is how do you contextualize stats? Like, if you're in a weaker group and you're the top dog, you should like, have like the best stats, the most dominant stats. If you're not there, if you're not up there, then I'm not sure you're going to get the whole thing. I mean, the semifinals, you will probably drop. And that's a top 4 finish, but it's not really indicative of your skill level since you had a weaker group. So, and your results were also worse. Like, for example, back in the day, in Apex Season 2, Runaways results, okay, in group phase, where they had to face Fnatic, Kong to Panthera, Runaway, and it was another team. Don't remember the other team, to be honest, but Flashlights. Yeah, it was
Flashlights, yeah.
Okay, see, it was Flashlight. So they crumbled against Kong to Panthera. Literally the worst match in the Apex Season 2 history. You can go and check their kill. You can go and check how many kills they racked in that game. It was 50 kills over a 40 minutes period.
Wow. That's nothing.
It wasn't even like 2 kills per minute. It was a massacre for Runaway. It was probably the second match against Kong to Panthera, and I think in that match also they had a different roster. Probably Run wasn't playing; it was the other guy playing. Anyways, so yeah, they didn't show any. They had like this kind of mediocre performance against Kong to Panthera, but they showed great results against Flax and Fnatic.
Mm-hmm.
So their results were average, but if you put them into context, like who were they facing, against who were they facing, and this is not something that Wince Lab provides right now. It would be a great feature to have, but again, I would say that you would have to pay for that feature, because if you break this kind of stats on a per match basis and you see where the player picks, so you know how he picks compared to his opposition, rather than getting a number at the end where you could lose all this context. It could give so much insight on teams, players, and everything for coaches, analysts, and whatever. So you should pay for that feature, to be honest. Anyways, yeah, back in the day, it was like the results weren't really indicative of the power level, but in the end, they ended up set so many teams because they switched things up, they found their rhythm and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's it for Dongkyung and Mano.
Yeah.
Another player that's really great, I think it's Architect.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember him being at the top competition. Let me see.
It's not that high here, but like he had some stats of his were insane. Let me see if I can find him.
Yeah. Who was it? Like
his Genji was so just his. That's so for the viewers watching this. This is kills per ultimate. So let me just sort by this. Kills per ultimate by Architect is 0.895. And just look at the difference between Godspeed the second one. That's simply insane, right? And then again, don't think of this as a dick measuring contest. This is just, now you need to take that stat and contextualize it in the sense that, okay, how does Conbox play? Does that make sense that he has that much? Is he actually the hard carry of that team, or is it just his blades, or how does Conbox set up these blades, for instance? Or You know, all these kinds of questions should arise, not, oh yeah, I guess he's the best blade user in the game, right?
I mean, in the current meta, it's not even like, I think for Genji players at least, he's definitely his own skill doing this, because there's not so much setup right now. So basically one of the problems for the dive meta we're currently in, and people haven't figured it out yet, it's like you're not comboing ultimates unless it's like a nano blade. There's nothing else to combo with. There's no Graviton's area, there's no Earth Shatter, because Reinhardt and Zarya aren't played anymore. So you're not setting up any ultimate anyways. I mean, even the mech bombs aren't set up right now. So especially for Genji players, I think it's his skill that makes this possible. The fact that he can rack so many kills per ultimate per Genji blade, it's insane. I think if you just go to the Genji category and you ignore like the all heroes, because what we're seeing right now is based on all our heroes. If you go to the Genji category, he had like 1 kill per ultimate, which I think it's insane for this kind of competition where he is in. It's not like against mediocre tier 2 teams. It's against some pretty big names, and to have this kind of ultimate value, just put him in another team and he will carry boy. He will be there up top and he will just kill everyone with his blade.
Okay.
In this meta at least. So, but to be fair, it's like Bertrink also has as against, like he has almost 0.9, a bit more than that. And then Arhan, you would expect Arhan, who's on the winning team, to have this kind of kill per ult performance, the great one, but he's like at 0.758, like almost a kill per blade, almost a kill, a bit less.
Let me actually bring this up real quick. Okay,
Yeah, it's insane, to be honest. And who are you is even lower than Arhan.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it gets higher, right, for Architect. Like, his average is obviously a little bit lower because of not only playing Genji, but that's also one thing that, like, Pine is also a beast, right now.
Pine, Bering, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them are doing great. But you see, like, but that's how do you evaluate these stats? Like, you see Pine and Bering, they have 40 minutes of play time.
Yeah.
So it's like it could be like a good run for them on some matches that they were.
Could be against Flashlucks, right? 40 minutes. It's like.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know. You don't know because you don't have this kind of info. Like, who were they picking against? But you see, for Architect, it's 2 hours, 32 minutes of. You know, his sample size is so much better.
Yes.
It's so well balanced right now that you can't really dismiss him as a top Genji player in Apex. And he's on a team that recently dropped out of the whole tournament against Lunatic High, but you cannot underappreciate his performance. He was like a beast on that hero, and this brings us back probably to the discussion we had with Baroy and his article that no matter how well you are on a DPS player, on DPS hero, no matter how hard carry you are, how many kills you rack, how many kills per ultimate you get, if your whole team doesn't follow, if your whole team doesn't hold their weight, then you will find yourself in a position where you're doing everything you can, probably more than that, and you're still losing matches in the whole tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is like which players you're going to watch for in the future. Like, this is the narrative right now being made for these players, like indicators. These players were great.
Yeah. I think, for instance, Architect, I don't know what Conbox's future will be, but he's like a top agent right now, right? That he's something, like, I wouldn't even... I don't know anything about his personal situation, but it wouldn't surprise me if, like, Western teams were approaching him. Because that seems to be a recent trend, right?
I mean, obviously the coaches and everyone else are also looking at, you know, movements, votes, and whatever, anything else. because it's not only about stats. For them, at least, it's not like only about stats.
Obviously not, yeah.
But again, yeah, if you were like a team coach, or you want to replace a team owner, and you want to replace some kind of player, then you have to start from somewhere. And let's go ahead. I think we have the takeover. We have the takeover analysis, right, for logics, and maybe I think
I can bring it up.
Yeah, because what I'm going to say is like, how do you read the stats right now? Because by themselves, I don't think they don't mean anything. You need to constantly combine them in your mind with what you've seen. Constantly combine them, because even for Architect, for example, if his first death ratio is bad, so what does this mean? If he dies a lot first in the fight, no matter how many ultimates he gets, he's still dead weight in a sense. Like,
Yes.
he is still inconsistent in that sense. And I think, at least for Dafran, that was the case in Selfless, because I was checking his stats. So he had an insane PTK, percentage of team skills. He was like 30% of his team skills attributed to him, which is an insane number. It's like, for so many matches played as Selfless, to constantly rack so many kills, he was hard carrying his whole team. But
that's a day of Overwatch, right? That's 24 hours of Overwatch, and he's at 30% PTK. There's no, like, this is among the biggest data sets that are currently available in the scene, right? So that's set in stone, right?
Yeah, and you see, like, for example, the supports or the tanks PTK were far lower, far lower. It's not even like Michael 3D and D-Hack didn't even have 10% of this. But if you go in the second page, of stats, and you go and check his first death ratio, okay, how many times he goes the first death.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he has the worst number in his team, and he's like having a 2% difference from the next in line, which is Sinatra.
Yeah.
What this means? It's like he was getting picked first in the fight constantly. And now someone can argue, like, and someone like Winz can say, okay, he was the bait. I hardly doubt that Dafran was the bait for Selfless.
Yeah.
I hardly doubt. I think that he was getting sat down because they knew that he's that kind of player that if you let him alive, he's going to make a mess out of you. And the problem is, like, you would expect the whole team of Selfless to protect Dafran for this specific reason, because he's like this kind of player. So you would expect other players to throw their lives at them, maybe Emong or whatever. But Emong is like the second from the bottom player in terms of first death. It's like one of the players that survived the most, and he was playing Roadhog, for God's sake. It's like the big fat meme of Overwatch, like, it's shooting in the face. It's so easy to kill him.
To be fair, what's also true is that Dafran has like a pretty high first kills percentage, right? So
I mean, he's supposed to.
Yeah, definitely he's supposed to, but his ratio sort of justifies itself that way, right? In the sense that, okay, so it's maybe not only about his team, but also probably about his offensive positioning. You would then have to, like, this is my thesis, I would then have to go to the VODs and just grind VODs, right? In order to, but it, like, from what I remember, it felt always quite aggressive what he was doing, and obviously, like, it's backed up by just beautiful tracking. Like, unreal levels of tracking that was fairly hard to, honestly, like I remember we were sitting in Discord and just trying to find a Western player that compares, other than maybe AKM, and even there,
I think AKM is on top, is on par with him. It's probably even better in a sense, because he has also played Lance, he has also played other.
Sure.
We have a more, we have more info on him rather than playing from your comfort zone in your. But I don't blame Dafran for that, because he didn't have to be honest, he didn't have the chances to show off in a LAN or so, whatever. They weren't in LANs, and even the one LAN that happened during that time, the Overwatch Winter Premiere, started like in December, when selfless wasn't even relevant in the scene at that point. So it had to do also with the tank meta. I mean, so many teams have exploded over the past few months because of the dive meta. Because of everyone basically being able to carry his team. I mean, Boombox right now, the guy who was carrying United with his skills on Zenyatta. This could never be a thing for Ana. They never had that burst damage ability. I mean, okay, she could get 2 shots on a hero. She would never kill him by herself, like right off the bat.
Not immediately, yeah. Not like a burst right-click that Zen can't do, yeah.
So right now, everyone can sign on a team from any position. I mean, Lucio's also got buffed in damage. So we see so many teams having these great performances and rising to prominence because of the way the meta is structured. Back in the day when the tank meta was in game, teams didn't have that many chances because I mean the Ana players, all they needed to do was like mostly healing. That's why Rizu Hong was the exception, because everyone was healing and he was like DPSing. The same also for Toby. Like Lucio players were like the heal bots or the speed bots, and yeah, I mean right now it's
actually quite interesting. So I'm currently looking at the stats for E United, right? And I'm looking at the first kills, and Boombox almost has twice as much first kills as Rubicon had. That's interesting, right?
Yeah, I guess, because
then again,
Winston is like in the dive meta, because we're discussing this. In the dive meta, Winston's like the finisher in many cases. Like Tracer goes in, he gets some damage, some easy damage, and then Winston comes in and finishes the kill, or Soldier just gets a helix rocket. I mean, yeah, so it's kind of, but this is probably the way that they played. Maybe this is style choice. I'm not sure. But
possible, yeah. Yeah.
I would expect the other way though. Like.
What exactly? What?
Like a Rubicon should have the more first kills. But
oh,
I guess
really?
It shows
wow.
That,
okay.
But I guess it shows that Boombox was having that good of a day with his right clicks. Yeah. Anyways, I mean, Boombox has more PTK than Rubicon, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But Rubicon's not even on the team right now. Who is playing?
No. Rubicon was replaced by Boombox, and that's why it's interesting, because yeah. Before Takeover, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. After the Korean bootcamp, basically.
Exactly, and that's like, I would even say, like, at this point you could say that it's an upgrade, right? In the sense, like, maybe not even just I don't know how the team dynamic works, but just looking at Takeover, that one event felt like Boombox was almost a standout player for E United there. So I don't know, or even Valutaha. Obviously, you always have to bring up with that's also like it's talking about that Tracer ult charge thing, right? Like, why would you, if you're trying to, appease the Western crowd, why would you not bring up Valutaha, who's like, one of the best Tracers in the Western scene? I don't know. It's strange.
I think he goes in the graphic, wasn't he?
Was he?
But
let me see.
I think he was. Like, I'm not sure though.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea. Like, these selected players was really mind-boggling for me. Like, why do you select players? Either put the top 10 for a certain period, or break them down by region or by tournament or whatever. Like, you don't sell. It's like me selecting the best players, and then for some reason I'm selecting the best players that I think they are, and then everyone is irrelevant because there's logic who is above them by far. Like,
Yes.
It's like you're seeing the 13 peaks of Everest Everest, and you're missing the highest, not of Everest, of Himalaya. Himalaya is the mountain, so Everest is a peak. So you're seeing all the other peaks down the biggest one, and you're saying like, wow,
Yeah.
look how big the peak is, and then you think the Everest that stands like even 1,000 meters taller than that. It's like, wow. Where was the peak again? Like,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Anyways, but again, it's like what Win said in a sense, like you have to contextualize everything.
Definitely.
Contextualize everything.
And I think it's just an unfortunate way of words to say it's meaningless, right? Like,
Yeah.
What's meaningless, dude? Like, virtually nothing is meaningless. Like,
Stats are meaningless. Yeah.
I don't know. So, like, let me.
It's funny though because it brings insight to how the players think about stats. At least some of the players think about stats. Not all of them think the same way, but I know right now that if I say Winz is probably like the worst Lucio or whatever, he won't get upset. So
No.
I can probably create so many selected
That-
players in programming.
I mean, that also wouldn't be true, right? He's actually a pretty good Lucio, so.
Yeah, he's a really good Lucio.
So,
I mean,
talking about good Western Lucios, right? So, I wanted to address some, of the parts that are still in the Apex tournament, right? Also because tomorrow's matches. Like, Harry Hook is quite up there. So, if you look at Baroy's ratings, Harry Hook currently is the 5th best player by rating, obviously.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That-
Okay, yeah.
Like, in general, Envy is pretty high up there. Obviously, like, we have to say this omits the matches that happened after the lower, before the lower bracket, basically, because we didn't want to have like differing map counts and also like win rates based on the matches you've played, which then again, like this is another process of like selecting data so it's fair and makes sense and isn't meaningless and therefore, right? So now, but in general, like Harry Hook can hang with these guys, right? So wait, there was some point I wanted to.
His first death ratio is still kind of high though, I think.
Yeah, it's sort of high. Yeah.
Can you arrange the results based on first death ratio? Because
Sure.
I think for a Lucio player, but again he's playing also soldier on some months, so
Yes.
it's not like I just hate it when okay, he's in the middle, so
Yeah.
it's okay, I guess.
Even Taimu isn't doing badly, right?
No, by no means, basically. Although everyone's focusing him probably.
Yeah. And that's actually like I think that's really tearing him apart for the most part. That currently it's a meta that really emphasizes diving, like DPS hard, and especially like the role he plays. And also if you're like the premier threat in terms of like you just can't leave him alone. He had again this like he flipped the recording switch again and again in that series. Like he's one of the most exciting players for me because when he turns it on, it's just unbelievable what he can do, right? Like it's almost like I have a hard time finding people that are equal to him when he's fully on. Like you will probably find like highlight clips of Flower that are comparable.
I don't think it's that kind of level though. I always think that Flower, I always consider Flower being a team player mostly. So it's not like get wrecked. I'm going to do my own thing, and I think it's working already. I mean, Flower will always pop off in a team fight sense. Like he's going to pop off, but not like going for the wild pick somehow. Like I'm going to play Widowmaker on a map that no one else has played Widowmaker, and he gets like 3 headshots that are insane. like that one headshot on Tracer or Getzy back in Apex Season 2.
Yeah.
And it's not even supported by the composition. Like, it's not even fitting in the composition. Flower could always play a hero that fits at least somewhat with the composition. So I think he's a different kind of player, but he can pop off as well.
I mean, it's fucking insane if you think about it. Like, there's a guy that admits like problems with mentality, and then he just has these, like, in the last possible moment when everything, the pressure is on, your tournament life might be on the line, and he just, like, he has these refuse to lose moments. He had it on Widowmaker, and now he had it on McCree again, right? Like, it's like, also Roadhog clips, like, it's, I don't know, like, such an exciting player, and it's truly scary to think what would happen if that guy ever gets happy again. Like, what's happened since?
I'm not sure if you want him to get happy. Basically, it depends. Like, if when he's unhappy, he can pop off like that. Do you want him to get happy? Like,
ooh, that would be a terrible. Like, then Envious needs like torture chambers or something in their facilities, and they bring him puppy or something. I don't know.
I think maybe he remembered his McCree pillow back in. And he was like, I just got to go home. McCree saved me. No. I think right now, in the meta we're in, because of how fast it is, and tunnel vision can occur much easier in this fast-paced environment, wild picks can work wonders. They, like, everyone's thinking, okay, we're in, like, in the last seconds, what are they going to do? What, like, are they going to switch something up? And the answer they're going to come up with is, like, play a hero that fits the meta, that has maximum utility and maximum value in the meta. And when you disrupt this kind of thinking with an off-meta pick, like McCree, for example, in crucial moments, everyone's like, either it's like, we don't care about it because we can shut you down really easily, or because they haven't really seen what's going up against them, because, like, this kind of, you know, last minute pressure, you can pop off and make something work that under other circumstances it wouldn't work, because it's this kind of wild cards that you're throwing into a very sacred meta that everyone expects you to play these 5-6 heroes, and then McCree comes into play. But you need to have, it's the same argument I'm thinking about when I'm talking about Widowmaker strategies. If you don't have a player that can pop off on Widowmaker, that can make constant highlight reels on Widowmaker, if you don't go for Widowmaker strats like Carpe and Selfless, or was it Karif and
Karif.
Karif, was it in the Overwatch Contenders game? We saw he was playing, like, he was trying to play Widowmaker on Aces, I think, the University or some map. And he never got a kill, or he got one body shot out of 10 shots. So if you don't have this kind of player, you don't go for wild cards.
Which is strange, yeah, but because
never pay off.
Karif had pretty good performances in Apex, right? So I guess they thought he could pull it off. And that's also an interesting concept that we might have to revisit in the future, because, for instance, in CS, there's this concept of being on, like someone feeling it, right? So someone's like, okay, guys, I feel like I could play the AWP, and then you just, for instance, Snacks, you just give the AWP to him, and he feels it in the moment, and he just, like, he turns into an AWP god. And it's interesting to think that this might turn into also the Widowmaker shtick, right? It's far less flexible because, like, okay, so Ru Jae-hong feels like, I actually want to, you know, pop off on Widow now. Like, who takes Diana then, right? It's much.
No one.
Yeah.
No, it's just like Ru Jae-hong feel it, like, dance with his group. Don't care about anything. let Eska pull stomp himself. Ru Jae-hong is there to clean up. I mean,
yeah.
No. I really think, like, it's that kind of situation in Lu and Kain in every team. Like, sometimes you need to have your players play what they're comfortable on. Let them, you know, flip that switch on. Let them have their groove on. And this affects the whole climate. I mean, even if a player on my team does a mistakes, if I see another player doing so well and I mean, I will dismiss this whole incident.
Yes.
If everyone's doing badly and no one gets the groove on, no one gets like anything going, yeah, even the small details is going to upset the whole balance.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be fun. I think it will happen not only with Widowmaker. If McCree, if every slow-paced hero comes back into game, the ones with the headshot ability, not, I mean, Genji also has headshot ability, but I don't really expect a Genji to just deliver the shuriken blows one after the other. It's just not going to happen. I expect him to dash his way through. So, but again, the dash is a cheap mechanic since you don't really have to aim for a head. Like you just aim for the whole model. You just do almost area damage. Yeah, I think when we see all these kind of heroes getting back, even on Reaper. I mean, Reaper back in the day, back in the Beyblade meta, back in the when he was viable in the meta, even before the Beyblade meta, he was like a hero that he was flanking and he was getting some highlight reels because you know one good headshot on some guy can shut you down and then you're starting to spin and he's getting like this kind of hype ultimate, which you can't really get hyped with a mech bomb. I mean, surely in the end you get hyped, but you can't get hyped during the whole action thing or the animation. When he's doing the animation, when he does the animation, you know that everyone either will freeze behind a hidden spot, hiding behind a spot, or he will just disperse to the corners of the earth just to avoid the mech bomb. It's nothing like hyping. That's why Dragon Blade is a hype, you know, ultimate, because you see him assisting the blade, and you know, like he's going for either 1 or 2 kills, get shut down early. It's something to hype about.
Yeah.
In the mech bomb or the primal rage, I mean, the primal rage is it's not even an offensive ultimate. It's more like an control ultimate.
I think I would disagree there to an extent because I think people actually get hyped about Diva ultimates. Like big Mickey bombs, for instance. Like if you remember that play that Mickey made on the obviously it was more than just a mere Mickey bomb or Diva bomb because it also required a lot of setup. But like I felt like because it's so unlikely that it kills someone unless you're obviously Donghyun, then it feels sort of hype. But I get the idea. Yeah, for instance, like. Wince
it's like throwing a 3-pointer that 90% of the time goes an airball.
Yes.
It's almost like that. It's not even touching the the
rim.
The ring.
Yeah.
It's not even touching the ring.
Yeah.
You can hype it, but it's not like someone going for a dunk. You know he's going for a dunk. You know, you see the motion. You know, he will get the dunk. You know, it's completely different.
And I think in that regard, like. The Genji ult is actually one of the more, like the best things to observe in Overwatch because you don't necessarily need to be in first person to appreciate it because you have sort of an intuitive feel that, like, if you were from up above, you get the idea that, okay, this guy needs to have pretty good court vision in order to, you know, understand where everyone is. And then the mechanical aspect of, you know, swinging a sword is also like there's basically no aim involved, right? So, like, I think it makes sense to go first person, but also in third person you get a lot of the information, unless the camera is obviously behind some obstacle or something. And then in that case, for instance, at TakeOver there was this one case at Lijiang. It was... yeah. And he was basically the last one, and he cleaned up against 4, but half of it was like not first person, and then also behind like obstacles. There were like stupid pillars in the way. You couldn't see how he killed them. You just saw it in the kill feed, and that's not exciting, right? But in general, I think the Genji does a pretty good job at, you know, being exciting, right? Also because he just announced it so, you know, powerfully.
And I think he's like. Barras could also be like a hybrid using ultimate, but it gets shut down mostly a lot, which is like, I mean, right now the whole Overwatch scene lacks this kind of hype things during the fight because everyone is popping ultimates, but many ultimates are getting shut down so hard, are getting hard counted so badly right now that it's unreal. I mean, it's like you're going for the 3-pointers. A guy just comes at you and slams the ball down. Like, nope, that's a different guy.
Yeah.
Like, you're going for another 3-pointer from another angle. The same guy just slams it down, the ball down. Nope. And it's like we constantly seeing them going for a dunk and just thrown down the ground like with the ball. That's like foul. It doesn't really matter.
To play devil's advocate on the Matrix thing, like I think Matrix is nice in the sense that much less kills because of ultimates happen, and kills because of ultimates always don't feel as impressive, right? Like unless you mistake track like as a tack visor for tracking, it's probably not going to be like that impressive of a. Obviously the setup is all satisfying, and like being in that situation, I think everyone knows, like if you have a tack visor and like the diva is actually dead or something and you can just left click and just mow over, that's satisfying, but it's not really, you know, transporting anything skillful or the feeling of, okay, I couldn't have done that in that situation, right?
You know what I liked most so far in the metas? I liked before the Beyblade meta, also almost like the meta leading to the Beyblade meta. When you had like the supports, when you had 2 tanks, like Zarya and Reinhardt, with control abilities, tanks didn't have offensive abilities. I mean, I dislike the whole notion of a tank having a bomb, to be honest. Because a bomb is essentially an offensive ultimate. It's not a control ultimate or a crowd control CC ultimate. I liked when, you know, the tank was setting up the DPS player, and therefore you had this kind of synergy, and the support players were like as the counter to this combo, to this ultimate combos, and therefore you got like a structure. You expect to see, okay, this team has this combo. The other team has a counter to the combo, like Zenyatta or Sound Barrier, and therefore it was like the game. Which team would pay out the combo first, or which team would respond to the combo with the counter ultimate with a barrier and these things. Right now, you see Lucius using their barriers for one ultimate, but because there is no combo, the moment the barrier goes off, another ultimate pops off and kills everyone. Or you see Zenyatta like popping his ultimate, but because there's so many burst ultimates right now, Diva, the back bomb is a burst ultimate, pulse bomb is a burst ultimate. Sometimes it doesn't even matter because it doesn't counter anything. It's like to keep alive if you get damaged, but if you get burst down by a mech bomb or a pulse bomb, then it goes down. And it would help us evaluate, create much more interesting stats, much more interesting metrics, because you know that one ultimate doesn't really secure a kill, so it's like a setup, and therefore you're evaluating the performance of that ultimate based on how many people it's got in the graviton or it got earth start, and then it comes the other ultimate that does the damage. Right now we have like 4 ultimates that can kill people. It's like, who is playing another role like just DPS? No one. Only Diva up 3 points. Like, I mean, Zenyatta's also pop off with their skills. It's insane. Anyways, these are balances. So maybe we need to discuss them in a separate topic, separate episode, because this is how you get also proper stats metrics. This is also how you evaluate players greatly. If everyone is popping off, but is popping off in a different way. Let me give you a last example, because that's, I think, my final point in this. So like in CSGO, okay, and it blows my mind. Like in CSGO, which is like the easiest game to evaluate right now. Okay, you don't have any big bugs for characters, for heroes. Okay, you have like every hero, every player can get any loadout they want in game. Like they don't have any limits. Okay.
Economy, other than economy, yeah.
I mean, yeah, economy, but it's not like you're playing a specific hero with a current ammo loadout. Like you can't get like a sniper on a support player. There's no such thing in CS:GO.
Yes.
Okay? So the metrics are really easy to make, and you can evaluate almost anything. Like this team had armor and Kevlars and helmets and this kind of utility. This team had nothing, so therefore I weight this round as 1-0, but it's like an easy win, so that doesn't hold as much value as winning a round with both teams having full buyouts, full loads, and therefore, in Overwatch right now, we have so many heroes, okay, that can DPS with so many different ways, and it really creates a problem for us. In CS:GO, you can make this kind of calculation of stats metrics so easy. You can
Comparatively, yeah.
Yeah, and they can paint a much better picture for you, because I mean, people don't kill via other ways. They either kill via ammo. A knife is also like, knife is probably the one way to kill. Actually, it's like you have knife, the grenades, the molotovs, and ammo. You have nothing else. Like, and everyone can have all of them. And you see that grenades kills and molotov kills and knife kills are so rare. So therefore, all you're comparing people to is like, how accurate are they to find a straight kill or to spray down the enemy. It's like, this is all your comparison boils down to. Do you get a headshot or do you spray him?
Yeah.
In Overwatch, on the other hand, it's like you have so many factors, and if you don't narrow it down to some factors, it's constantly going to be like, whenever another hero is introduced, you have to reevaluate the whole balance picture. You have to reevaluate how everyone plays in the center meta, how every hero is getting affected, how every kill is secured, how every map is affecting this kind of performance, and it's insane. I tell you, like, Blizzard needs to find a way that, okay, we're going to have like this kind of rotation for the maps. We're going to have this kind of abilities for the heroes, but the heroes somehow are limited, like in some way. Like, you can't really let everything go rampant and expect that this thing will be evaluated properly.
Yeah.
I mean, you got this analyst.
I think that's the biggest point. Like, our game is constantly changing, while CS:GO is for the most part fairly untouched, and therefore the stats you could create could be much more long lasting, and rigid, and you have things. And I think like Overwatch, especially data analysis, but analysis at all, needs to constantly reevaluate like win conditions, like what's actually the thing that keeps on winning. Like maybe at some point we find out that first kills won't be as impactful. Like currently, okay, Baroy says 80%. What if it drops to 60% because of certain factors? Then we need to reevaluate stats completely differently. Maybe that, for instance, could be the case for different map types, right? What if we have like map types that have 3 different channel points that are all at the same time active or something, and it's much more skirmishy or something, right? It's like Overwatch is still not figured out for the most part, and I think that's why like we can never rest on our laurels here, right? We need to constantly like reassess the situation and look at what's actually winning games, then take these metrics, apply them to the other teams, and see how it sticks. If our formula or our understanding of statistics, what they tell us about the game, is constantly accurate. So while it's a constant battle of losing relevance, it's still like, I think especially like people like Baroy and also you, like there's a constant drive towards like finding the the important the important stats that tell us something about the game. And I think it's either that, like, for instance, people like Winz that are against these stats haven't actually, like, immersed themselves into the subject, or they've only been exposed to bad data analysis, and that's the issue.
Exposed to bad. I mean, even until recently, Blizzard used so many bad metrics in the game. Like,
nice.
So,
we're getting them all in. Come on, shit on some more people. Like, who else can we get?
I mean,
Noose is also terrible, by the way. Chunksick, fucking horrible. Okay. Anyone else? Bring him on. Bring him on.
I mean, Reddit users are also terrible, but I guess this.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely.
Which is terrible. like really really terrible. I would say reinforce, but the thing is like.
Ooh. I don't think that's necessarily consistently true. I think he has bad games, but like not consistently. I think, and also currently to evaluate the performance they had, sort of like they just didn't play enough Overwatch yet. I think, right?
What?
Like, not that they're not practicing, but we haven't seen like consistent competition by them. Like they have like I can't say, okay, I'm looking at Misfits and now I understand Misfits. This is the level I can expect from them.
No,
like
I'm not looking at Misfits. I'm looking at Reinforced. To be honest, it's not like that.
Well, even him, like he's called Lotto Force for a reason, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't lump him in there because it's simply like I don't think we have enough data to make that argument yet.
Really?
For me, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. I mean,
Yeah?
I'm not taking it seriously right now. I'm just throwing names.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm actually saying Nus and Changsik are fucking terrible. Right? Okay.
I don't think. I mean, just let the guys play some Reinhardt. I mean, Nas probably not because even then he would be terrible. But Changsik, he's a great Reinhardt. Just let him play his Reinhardt.
So let me just bring this up, right? So just as an endpoint, and then we get to the memes, and then we shut this thing off. But like, look at this. This is again like the entirety. If you look at the filters, this is all the 8 teams. We have the filter of the 14th of June. Then we go down, and everyone has beautiful win rates, all green, right? All green. Oh, so beautiful, isn't it? Because these are the successful teams, right? They got in. For instance, Envy is pretty much on the lower side. They had a tough run into the playoffs, but yeah, that's all fine. And then you scroll down, and suddenly it's all green. It's all green, and what's this? A red number. Who is it? My boy Changsik. 1 hour and 10 minutes of play. Fucking negative win rate. In a quarterfinal. Obviously, you have been subbed in, and if I look at the data sets, I think he's also the player that played the least on this list.
Yeah. He played also in another match. It was like a substitute in 1 or 2 rounds, or on the final map of one match previously. Yeah. I don't remember which one was it.
Yeah.
He replaced Alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that this the win rate thing is indicative of his performance.
Nah, it's just it's just something. For instance, like stats need to be contextualized, but if they are so strong that some stat, like for instance, Logic's Tracer ultimate stat is so outstanding that it needs to be considered. Architect's stats are so outstanding it needs to be considered. Chunk6 win rate is so fucking bad that it needs to be considered. Right? That's all I'm saying. I don't care. Like maybe he's just an unpleasant person to be around, and that's why he makes everyone play worse. I don't care. Maybe he's the best player in the world, but his win rate is not representing that.
His performance back in Epic Season 2, he was great. He was the reason basically that why they moved on to the semi-finals.
Because Alpha was getting outplayed and Reinhardt back then. But right now he can't play. For some reason, Alpha can't play anything. I mean, Alpha is probably worse than Changsik, since he's like a Winston main, and in this meta he hasn't shown at all.
I will just say this is a topic for another time. This hill I will die on another time. Yeah. Other people like the metaphor of dying on a bridge. I actually prefer the metaphor of dying on a hill, right? And this is why there's always a hill for us to climb, and I think we climbed a bunch of hills today, right? And some are worth dying on, and I think we did this too, but only some, right? But actually, such as all of them. Right, we just dwell on all the...
I need to ask you at this point. Is it because when you die on the hill, then your body can roll down the bottom slowly?
Like,
that doesn't straight fall in the water. It's like you slowly.
Yes, probably. Basically, like an Eska would roll down after he killed himself with his own pulse bomb, and that's when the game ragdolls him. Right? So, anyway, 9th episode in the back. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.